Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Krista, and for today's class, I'm going to guide you through a little yin sequence. And in this yin sequence, we're going to focus on mindfulness. We are going to use the mindfulness practices of Taoism. So we're going to approach yoga with intention and awareness. There's four main principles of mindfulness from the Taoism perspective. And that first one is finding that connection with your breath. The second one is finding connection with your physical body, so finding the sensation that you're feeling in your body. And the third one is once you find that physical awareness or that physical sensation in your body, then it's about tuning into the emotion of it. Maybe there's an emotion coming up for you. And then followed that is to watch the mind and watch the dialogue that happens in the mind. And then the fourth one is once you are able to have that awareness of the physical sensation, and then that passes, and then you have that emotional sensation with that dialogue in the mind, but you can stay with that intent and that awareness, then it's about bringing that awareness to the environment that is outside of you. So for today's class, we're going to start in a seated pose. And for our practice today, some props that I might suggest is a bolster. Instead of a bolster, you can also use a pillow or a couple of pillows, a blanket, and 2 blocks or books or Kleenex boxes, just something like that. You can totally get creative with other items that you have in your home. So we're going to start seated. And we're going to be here just for a little bit, so if you need to, just slide a cushion or something underneath your bum. And rest your hands on top of your thighs, on top of your knees. And close down the windows of your eyes. And just feel your body kind of shift back in space. So you almost feel like your spine stacks directly over your hips. And there's this sensation of rooting down from your sits bones. Really feeling your sits bones root deeper into the floor. And almost like you're rooting down so much that you start to grow roots into the floor beneath you. And just notice what your roots look like. Are they thick and tuberous? Or are they full and small? Now, as you continue to root down, feel a sense of liftedness, like lifting with the spine, a lengthening happening through the sides of the neck, and a reaching out through the crown of the head up towards the sky. Almost like your branches are reaching for the light. So we're really finding those opposing forces of rooting down but expanding and reaching for the light. And just spend a few breaths here. Holding on to that breath as your anchor and pulling that with you throughout your practice. With every inhale, feel your belly rise and expand. And with every exhale, feel your belly deflate. Now we'll just start to wake up the body a little bit by wiggling the fingers and the toes, and flutter open the eyes. And just take a moment, roll the shoulders up and down. Take them up towards the ears, back and down. And one more time. Awesome. Just removing any props from underneath your bum. We're going to find a child's pose. So bring the big toes to touch. Bring your knees at a comfortable distance apart, and then walk your hands forward and start to sink your chest down towards the floor. Allow your forehead to rest onto the floor. And because we are here in this shape for some time, feel free to bring either your bolster, a pillow, or a block underneath your bum. Or what can feel nice is to bring a bolster or pillow underneath your chest, and then rest your forehead down. And just breathe into the back body. And just notice what sensations are coming up for you right now. Just doing a body scan. Maybe you feel the floor against the tops of your feet. Maybe you feel your shins press deep into the floor. That squeezing sensations between your calves and your hamstrings. Noticing that compression happening in the front of that hip joint. And now once those physical sensations start to subside, where you're able to sit with them and notice them, is there an emotion that starts to come up for you? Without trying to label the emotion positive or negative, just allowing it to be, to float in the mind without having to give a meaning or purpose to it. Just notice how the mind wants to give purpose and give meaning to the physical sensation. Notice how dialogue starts to create about your breath. And just start to follow your breath in as it fills the entirety of your body. And then a slow breath out as it exits the body and comes in contact with the world around you. Start to notice your hands on the floor, and with a gentle push, start to lift your head, your chest out of this pose. Slide any props out of the way. And just a little counter pose, little rebound shape. Just come to sit on your bum and extend the legs onto your mat. Bring your hands by your hips, fingers point forward, feet flexed, and engage your quadriceps, the top of the thighs. And think of pushing into the ground, sitting up nice and tall, puffing up through your chest. And then allow that to release. Allow your legs to settle. And then just cross at the ankles, come back to tabletop position. So we're going to come into pigeon pose, starting with the right leg forward. So start to draw your right knee to your right wrist. Option to swing that left ankle towards the left wrist, but it does not have to be parallel. Just whatever you can control, stop there. And then start to slither your back leg a little bit further behind you so you can settle your hips closer to the floor. Now I'll give you a couple options here for props. Some people might like a bolster or a pillow to kind of support the entirety of their pelvis. So you can play with what that feels like. Some people might prefer a block or a pillow underneath that front hip. So you can kind of play what feels best in your body to support you. And now we are going to be folding forward in this pigeon pose to find sleeping pigeon. But when we fold forward, don't rest your entire weight onto that front leg. Even if you know you can go all the way to the floor, and for some people I know don't feel a thing in pigeon pose, you still want to keep your chest elevated because you don't want to rest your full body weight onto that hip. So I'm going to bring my bolster in front of my chest, and I'm just going to use it to support my chest. And you want to feel a sensation happening in through the outer right hip, but also into the front of the left. And sometimes it's possible that we don't feel anything in our yin poses, especially if we're really flexible. And it doesn't always mean to go further to chase that sensation, especially if we're already very flexible. Sometimes it's about pausing and retracting and supporting and really coming into your breath, and maybe over time, sensation does arise in that lesser extent of the pose. And with our practice today, we're really focusing on the liver meridian. And the liver meridian runs from our big toe to the inside of our legs. And in our liver channel, we can hold on to a lot of anger. A lot of anger can be really built up along this channel. And just something I forgot to mention. This pose is really like no in your body right now. Maybe you just need a slight shift, and you bring your right hip down towards the floor, and you just slightly bend the back leg And then again, rest your chest onto the bolster, and maybe that's enough of a change of the pose that you're like, ah, yes, that feels better in my body. Especially if you have any knee pain. And we'll just be here a little bit longer. Take a long, juicy breath in and a long breath out. To come out of this pose, start by pressing your hands into the floor to lift your chest. And then sit your right hip down onto the floor. Bend that back leg and use your hand to pull that leg up towards the top of your mat. And then bring the sole of the foot flat. And then again, I'm going to use my hands just to peel my legs. Both soles of the feet are on the mat, knees are pointed up. And just bring your hands behind you and lean back. It might feel good just to bring the feet out about mat distance apart and allow your knees to fall in towards each other. And then slowly come back up. And we're going to make our way to pigeon pose on the other side. And you can come into it from tabletop if you like that way better. Or you can just bend the left leg and then slide that right leg back behind you, coming into your pigeon pose on this side. So again, our hips, our legs are not the same on either side. So take your time to really set up this pose and what works best in your body. So I'm just going to start to walk my chest down onto my bolster. And again, if you're here in this pigeon pose and it's not feeling so great, maybe you try this and sit your left hip down and then a slight bend of the right leg. And then you can rest your chest down, your head down. And that might feel a little bit different in the body, and your body says, oh yes, I can stay here for a little longer. So once you find a comfortable position with this pose, let's really come back to that awareness. That awareness of your breath as you follow each inhale and each exhale. Come in and out through the body. Maybe your awareness now is stable onto that sensation and onto your breath. You start to notice maybe different sensations that are arising in your body. Notice how the body wants you to fidget or adjust your clothing. Can you just fight the urge for that and just really be in this moment without having to fix anything? And just start to watch your breath as it comes in through your nose, fills up your body, fills up your lungs, and gives you life. And then follow your exhale as it empties out through the lungs, out through your nostrils. And follow it even as it's outside of your body. And now just gently bring your hands onto the floor. With a gentle push, we'll start to lift ourselves up and then drop that left hip down. Move your props out of the way. We're going to come into a rebound shape. So just using your hands to guide your feet on the floor. And our rebound shape is going to be Shavasana. So start to just roll all the way onto your back. Extend both legs and bring your hands to the front of your hip creases. Oh, wow. Really feel the left and the right leg. Notice maybe some blood is working its way back in through the toes. What are you feeling? Is it like a tingling sensation or maybe a heat or a coldness? Just really resting here and feeling that movement happening back into the legs. And not necessarily physical movement, but the movement of blood, of movement of muscle, of skin, of bone. And just think of the last thing that made you angry. The last thing that made you a little bit anxious. Now start to take a deep breath in through your nose. Really fill up what it was that made you angry. And with your exhale breath, just let it go. Let it all go. Now we're slowly going to make our way back to a seat. And if there's any other way you like to get there, please feel free, but I'll start one at a time, bringing the soles of the feet onto your mat. Just gently lift your hips up and slide your hands underneath your low back so your palms are touching your mat. And then one at a time, point your toes up towards the sky. So your feet are up, hanging out by the ceiling, and we're in this kind of L shape. So keeping your chin tucked towards your chest, engage the core, and then as you drop the legs, the upper body will lift as one unit. Whew. And for our next pose, we're going to come into shoelace. And I'll give, again, a few options for this one as well. So you're going to start by bending that right leg and bringing the right heel towards your bum. The left leg is going to go on top. And again, you want to think of bringing your knees to stack one on top of the other. Maybe that doesn't happen for you. Feel free to reach for a blanket or maybe a block. And if your knee is really lifted, maybe just putting like a cushion or something just to support that knee. Another option is to straighten the bottom leg, just like that. And for my third option I'll give you is just to be here. So bringing the left shin in front of the right, and maybe that feels better in your body. So wherever you are, maybe you stay upright and this is really enough for you in this pose. I'm going to invite you to explore folding forward. What I think feels really nice is just kind of bringing a pillow or a little blanket, just sliding it into my hip crease and then folding forward, and that just, it feels really nice on my low back, and I'm fully supported with my belly and my body. And then I'm going to take my blocks and just stack them, one on its highest height, one on its about medium height, and then I can use that as a place to rest my forehead. So setting up your pose, whichever way works best for you. And once you find your shape, just really settling into your stillness. Settle into your body and back into your breath. And just take this time to really listen into your body. Now, if we've been in this pose for a little bit, so if you feel like your body might invite you a little further, maybe just gently lift your chest, lift your head. And at this point, I remove the blanket and see what it feels like to fold. Maybe my body can go a little bit further. Maybe I lower one of my blocks or remove a block completely. And just take one last breath in, one last breath out. And then push your hands into the floor just to lift your head and your chest. Move the blocks or whatever props you have off to the side. And definitely use your hands for this to really just peel away the legs. Plant the soles of the feet onto the floor. And bring your hands behind you and allow the knees to fall in towards each other. And close the eyes and lean back and just feel the blood rushing back in through the legs. Now, coming into that pose on the other side before finding our full rebound shape, we're going to bend the left leg this time. The left leg is going to be the bottom leg, bringing the heel towards your bum, and then the right leg is going to go on top. Again, stacking the knees, and if you come into this pose on the other side, it can feel totally different than how it felt on the first side. So just be mindful of that and feel free to maybe even do a completely different pose from one side to the other. So I'm just going to get my blocks ready. I'm going to get my cushion or my blanket ready. Slide it nice deep into my hip crease and then fold forward gently. And since we've been here for a while, maybe your body invites you further and explore by lifting the head, lifting the chest. Maybe adjusting or removing any props. And settling back into your shape and just noticing, feeling, really listening in to your body. Really approaching every pose with as much ease and as much softness. And just allowing yourself to linger in those in-between moments. Those moments between the inhale and the exhale. Maybe the moments between the poses, so those rebound shapes. And allowing them to be a shape all on its own to recalibrate your body. So last breath here. And push the floor away to come all the way back up. And we're going to come back into Shavasana for our rebound shape. So moving the blocks off to the side. And again, peeling away one leg at a time. Come to sit at the top of your mat. And then just start by holding onto the knees. Roll back with the body. Allow your chin to drop down towards your chest. Engage the core and feel your spine lower one vertebrae at a time until you come all the way onto your back. Extend the legs one at a time and bring your hands on the front of your hips and just feel that. Just really feel your body settle. One at a time, slide the soles of your feet one at a time onto your mat. And then lift the hips, slide your hands underneath your bum. And we'll start to kick both feet up towards the sky. Same thing as we did before. Tuck your chin down towards your chest, using the weight of your legs to lift yourself back up to seated. So this is going to be our last pose before we find our Shavasana, and that's our dragonfly pose. So our dragonfly pose is a wide-legged shape with the legs, and it can stay upright or you can be folded forward. For this one, if you feel like you're falling back, maybe play with having your legs more open or closed. Another option is bringing a cushion underneath your bum. And this feels really nice in my body. And then I kind of just wiggle my bum to the edge of that cushion. And I can already feel that stretch in the insides of the legs. So that's kind of what you're aiming for. And then from here, you can stay upright. You can fold forward if you're folding forward. Again, maybe you need some blocks, you need some props in front of you, okay? So wherever you are, just sit with that. Really explore your depth in this pose. And once you're there, just notice if the front of your hip creases want to stay turned on. Can you let that go? Can you let go of that urge to want to flex the feet? Oftentimes in our yang classes, we always want to keep the feet flexed and to engage the quadriceps, but here we really want to be soft. If you're starting to feel at any point a pull in the inner part of your knee or the upper, really high part of your groin, that means that we're pulling on a ligament, and we really don't want to pull on that. We'd rather feel that deep sensation in the muscle, the belly of the muscle. And if you're feeling that, then you can go further. But if you're feeling it on one of those ligaments, it's best to just stay where you are. Just last couple breaths here. And just bring your hands onto the floor or onto your props and just walk your chest and your head back upright. Remove your props off to the side. And I'm going to use one hand, or both hands, one leg at a time, just to physically bend that knee. And bring the soles of the feet onto the floor. So now we're going to come all the way onto our back for our final Shavasana. And once you've come all the way onto your back, we're just going to settle into just a standard Shavasana. But if you're at home or wherever you are, if you want to prop yourself up with some pillows, maybe a pillow under your head, maybe some pillows underneath your thighs just to support your low back, feel free. And just extend one leg at a time and then almost like slither your legs far on your mat, just to almost feel that gentle like pulling sensation in through the hips, like a traction. And just tuck the shoulders underneath your back and feel this sense of softening into your mat. Close your eyes and just notice what is coming up for you when you close your eyes. What is it that you see? Is it darkness? Is it colors? Is it shapes or patterns? And now bring your awareness into your ears. And just notice if there's any sounds you're hearing right now. Besides my voice, do you have music playing in the background? Can you hear sounds of nature or human-made noises? And now bring your awareness to your nose. Is there anything that you can smell? And then floating down to your mouth, is there anything that you can taste right now? Maybe just move around your tongue. And if you notice that like thick film over your tongue, or like your mouth is a little bit pasty, that's an indication that we really did some liver work here. It's almost like a sign of a detoxification. Now bring your awareness to your skin. What kind of fabric is rubbing up against your skin? What kind of material? And now start to bring your awareness to all that is outside of you. So noticing maybe the temperature of the room against your skin. Noticing you in this space. And start to take a giant breath in through your nose. And exhale, let's let it go. Beautiful. Let's take one last breath in. Really fill up any residual anger that you're holding on to. And let it go. Beautiful. Now you have all the time in the world. If you have all the time in the world, please feel free to stay here and just let the video phase out. But if you are on a little bit of a time restraint, I am going to leave you here. So just thank yourselves for making it onto your mat today and for finding that intention and awareness in your yoga practice. Thank you all for practicing today. Until next time, namaste.